Hi, I'm Jeanette Labar. I want to change the way grammar is taught. I developed a method that can teach essential grammar in one semester of instruction. Right now, all the buzz is STEM, but we still need students who are able to read. Closely connected is writing. We can't really raise a generation of engineers and scientists who never learn to read or clearly write their ideas. They call reading and writing a soft subject. Try writing a doctoral thesis without writing training and see how soft the skills are. Just because you can talk doesn't mean that you can write, any more than because you can do means that you can teach. Right now, textbook companies dictate what grammar and writing skills are taught and when. As such, for years, students from grade school arrive in middle school with varying degrees of writing and grammar skills. This is what I propose. I want as many teachers as I can reach to take up this method so that we teach very basic grammar skills and move on to teaching competent writers. I also believe that the entire faculty should learn the grammar rules so that English teachers aren't the only ones requiring and correcting for good writing. They should take these lessons also.
For decades, people have struggled with grade level grammar textbooks full of exercises. My method discourages the use of textbooks, and through in class exercises, the skill is embedded. We teach, we practice, we repeat. Eventually, it gets applied. The grammar that's covered in Units 1 and 2 will give students enough knowledge to begin writing.
The first two units are more than enough to carry students to middle school. In them, the most necessary grammar concepts are covered, plus a sentence analysis system that helps them find their writing errors and teaches them how to correct it. It is not to say that the rest of the units are unimportant, it's just that most students' writing needs won't go much beyond the first two units until high school. In ninth grade, we do need to teach Unit 3, and yes, their writing will lack style and may be incredibly dry, but clear communication is the goal. We need them to be able to compose a good 5-paragraph essay by ninth grade. Once there, we can add Units 4 and 5 when their ideas need more sophisticated writing style.
I taught for 30 years, middle school, high school, and college. Every fall, kids came to me with a varied collection of writing and grammar skills. There was no common ground to take off from, so when I taught, I always began with grammar. I'm hoping to standardize grammar and writing curricula so that this hit and miss program that we've done for decades becomes as sequential and consistent as arithmetic. We don't need 12 years to teach grammar. We embed it while they're in grammar school, reteaching in each grade, and in middle school around ninth grade we add Unit 3. Then we can start adding Units 4 and 5. While all along we overlay writing so that writing and grammar are no longer separate subjects but one consistently presented and augmented skill. There's no need to use grade-specific grammar textbooks. One really good grammar reference book will do, and I'll tell you which one I use later. If you already have textbooks, use them to find practice sentences to demonstrate with in class. The objective is to permanently embed the knowledge, not hope it sinks in with rote practice. I taught this method at a local university to elementary teachers looking for grammar techniques. The ladies took these ideas back to their class with great success. One of the women taught kindergarten, and she reported that even kids at that level understood sentence structure when they were taught the 21st century way.
In case you're wondering, in order to develop this grammar teaching method, I consulted tons of grammar books. I began experimenting with various teaching approaches. I have kept diagramming, which I think works for visual learners. At some point, I added a sock puppet, and then I added Oreo cookie sentence structure, and then ultimately created note card grammar, which turned into 21st century grammar.
This method depends on in-class drill and practice. We start with a 15 to 20-minute explanation of a narrow grammar characteristic, then practice and repeat. Exercises from the textbook look good as homework, but are far less effective in turning knowledge into a useful skill. At some point, I'll offer a live class to show you how I did the drill and practice. It worked for me, and it may work for you. Units 1 and 2 should be repeated every fall as needed, and then be practiced on as many writing topics and writing styles as possible. Writing is not covered in these lessons. Writing is a whole other kind of thinking, which will be covered in subsequent lessons.
Units 1 and 2 cover nouns, verbs, conjunctions, sentence structure, and punctuation. Once these are fully understood, the rest of the parts of speech can be layered on with relative ease. Students will know how to write correct sentences, or at least know where to look in a grammar reference book for help. Oh yes, Units 4 and 5 are for writers. They'll be writing about more complex concepts in high school. That's where the last two grammar units can be taught. Not all students need 4 and 5. Students who want to can maintain their 5-paragraph essay skills and focus on the various types of essays, persuasive, informative, etc., as well as responding to essay questions on tests. 3 through 5 can ultimately be taught to every student, but for elementary through 9th grade, we want writers, not grammarians.
These charts are some of the slides that I'll be using. They're here so writing or grammar teachers can see some of what the units cover, and they want to see if it's worth their time to check out my videos. It won't be a breeze. Unit 2 requires the same level of thinking as does algebra, because with writing, all the grammar rules and writing skills have to come together all at once. The nice thing is that students have been doing grammar and sentence structure since they were tiny. Listening taught them the rules of verbal grammar. Now that they're older, they need to know the writing rules. The value of competent writing never becomes quite as clear as when you need to communicate something on paper and then have to hand it over to be read. The units could come out much faster, but I know how life interferes with what you need to do and what you want to do and what you'll finally wind up doing. Some of the lessons are much more complicated than others and may need a second or third watch, so that's why I made them short. Each lesson is only 10 to 20 minutes, small bites, easily repeated.
Well, that's where I intend to take you with Units 1 and 2. Join me. See what it teaches you. I'm sure you'll continue to Unit 2, where sentence analysis is presented. It's a method not available in any grammar book, but is the most important writing and ultimately reading tool anyone can learn. Become a part of the grammar writing innovation. Let's make grammar and writing as sequential as math. All of these are important to any thinking, creating person on the planet. Okie dokie. Come on along.
Here's the usual plug and a way to communicate with me. Do join me on Patreon, where I want to demonstrate how I teach each lesson. You can also support me in my innovation of the writing curriculum. Here's the grammar reference book I use. Since all the lessons use the same jargon as is used in schools and college, 21st century grammar can be taught regardless of homeschooling or a traditional classroom. Students will know in which part of the sentence the problem appears, what it's called, and how to correct it. Join me, Unit 1, Lesson 1, in 2 weeks.